And the third zone is the benthic zone, which is the bottom of the lake. It consists of sand, silt, and or dead organisms, and the flora are represented primarily by seaweed, while the fauna, since it's very nutrient-rich, includes all sorts of bacteria, fungi, sponges, sea anemones, worms, sea stars, and fishes. And here's a map showing the different zones that are present within a lake. We have the littoral zone, the linetic zone, the profundal zone, and the benthic zone. The next one is our flowing water biomes. And these are biomes where flowing water is moving in one direction. Can be found everywhere. It always starts at headwaters, which may be springs, snowmelt, or even lakes. Then they travel all the way to their mouths, usually another water channel or the ocean. And so some key components of a flowing water biome. They're actually really split up into different areas. You have the source, which is going to be cooler than at, say, the mouth. It's also going to be clear, since there's less sediment at the source. It's going to have higher oxygen levels and contains freshwater fish such as trout. Now as you move downriver towards more of the middle part, the width is going to increase, and so does the species diversity. You have numerous aquatic green plants and algae, in addition to more organisms than just trout and smaller fish. You have much larger fish because that part of the river is going to be much bigger and deeper. Now the next one is towards the mouth of the river and stream, which is where the water becomes murky and meets with the ocean or another body of water like a lake. And so there's going to be less light that can penetrate through the water, and because of this there is going to be less diversity of flora, and because of the lower oxygen levels, fish that require less oxygen, such as catfish and carp, will be found in these areas. So a really good example of a flowing water biome in different areas, you have something like, say, the Arkansas River, which is a huge river in the United States, and it starts here in our lovely home of Colorado, and it starts near Buena Vista and Leadville. And so towards Leadville, it's a very small, tiny stream. It's going to be very, very cold, very, very clear. It's going to have a lot of movement, so higher oxygen levels, and you're going to find some world-class fishing for trout in that area. Now, following the Arkansas River further downstream, let's go even to just further down as we go, and the width is going to get bigger because there's more streams and more rivers that are feeding it, and with that, more species diversity because we have different water temperatures. It's a little bit friendlier to more organisms. There's also going to be more water. It's going to be deeper, so different organisms can live there, and it's just in a different area. It's going to be less colder, and so it's going to be able to support more life. Now you keep moving down to somewhere like Arkansas, where the river ends up eventually. It's a much larger water. It meets up with the Missouri River, or the Mississippi actually, and it just gets murkier and murkier and murkier and bigger and slower moving. So there's less oxygen, less light, and so on and so forth. So you get less diversity of flora and a little bit less diversity of the fish, so you're going to have like catfish and carp in those areas, and you don't have the world-class fishing that you do in Colorado. So that is the flowing water biome. And next is our marine biome, and so this is our oceans, much larger bodies of water. So you think of Finding Nemo as an example. So it is our largest biome in our biosphere, the Earth. And there's actually a couple different zones and areas within the marine biome, much like a lake or standing water. So you're going to have the open ocean, coral reefs, the benthic zone again, and the intertidal zone. So the open ocean is going to be generally cold, and the flora include surface plankton and seaweeds. And the fauna include many species of fish and some mammals such as whales and dolphins. The next you have the coral reef, which is widely distributed in warm, shallow waters. The dominant organisms are corals, of course, and there's also several species of microorganisms, invertebrates, fishes, sea urchins, octopuses, and sea stars. So it's a very diverse ecosystem, very, very diverse. And then you have the benthic zone. So this is going to again consist of sand, silt, and or dead organisms. And it's primarily going to be seaweed, which makes up the flora. And then fauna, you're going to have all sorts of bacteria, fungi, sponges, sea anemones, worms, sea stars, and fishes. So it's the very bottom of our oceans. And these fishes aren't the typical fishes that you see towards the surface. So they're going to be more tolerant to different types of wavelengths, since the ocean only receives certain light as you go down. And they're also less and less light as you get more and more towards the bottom, to the point where it's almost completely dark. So you have that fish that have to rely on different sort of senses as you go further down. And then, finally, is the intertidal zone, where the ocean meets the land. And this is a really, really awesome zone within our marine biome, because there's lots of different species of algae and mollusks. You have herbivorous snails, crabs, sea stars, small fishes, worms, clams, predatory crustaceans, crabs, and shorebirds. And it's also, you're going to have, it's at different times of the day, you're going to have it underneath water completely, and then you have at times where it is completely isolated from the water, and you have like these little tidal pools. And it's just a very, very unique zone within the marine. And you can probably go on forever and ever and ever about the intertidal zone, because there's just so much going on, and it's really where land meets water. And it's one of the few places where you get such a huge mix. It's really, really awesome. So look into that more, but it's outside the scope of this particular lecture. So now I want you to go ahead and answer this question. Which zone within the aquatic biome can be found in a lake, at the topmost zone near the shore of a lake, and is the warmest, and whose biotic community is the most diverse? Is it the benthic zone, the intertidal zone, the littoral zone, the temperate grassland, or the linetic zone? And I'll give you a minute to answer that. So if you said the littoral zone, you are correct. So again, it's going to be the most warmest. It's going to be right near the shore of a lake. And you have a lot of diversity. And so that, my friends, concludes our biomes lecture.